Dylan Van Helsing smiles, and with a wave of his hand, all traces of the girl are gone.
Okay, maybe I should have warned you.
No way.
Yes way, he chuckles. Surprised?
But I don't get... how?
How do you think?
Dylan grins like it should be obvious. You're a magician? Dylan blows into his hand and 3 fiery butterflies burst into life. They fly smoky circles around my head and then fizzle out. A million different questions pop into my mind. They must all come out at once because he says, "Whoa, one at a time." My face flushes. Sorry. Why in the world did you call yourself a magician girl? He flushes.
It was part of my cover. I wasn't sure if I could trust you. The Baru doesn't know about me yet, and I want to keep it that way. I didn't know if you'd report me or not.
Okay. But why didn't your magic show up on the crystal ball like mine did?
Because I crafted an illusion, he says with a smile. Made it look like I was just another trainee. It took me months to get it just right.
I think back to how revealed he looked when he came back to his seat. I thought he was just nervous about his supernatural ability. He was relieved that he pulled off his illusion.
Well, what about the boogie person? Why didn't she smell you? Illusions can fool any of the senses, not just sight, says Dylan, grinning. I wrap myself in an illusion that can only be smelled instead of seen. You never know what supernaturals you'll run into at the Baru, so I make sure to always hide my magician's scent.
That's incredible,
I say. Not as incredible as your illusion, says Dylan. You made it seem like the crystal ball filled with smoke and cracked.
But that was just an accident, I say.
Exactly, says Dylan. Only an extremely powerful magician could have pulled off an illusion of that size without realizing it.
I'm not sure how to feel. That magic meter, Maru, and now Dylan have all told me how powerful I am. But that's not how I feel at all.
Compared to you, I'm a pretty average illusionist, adds Dylan, but I'm really strong technologist.
What's a technologist? Dylan smiles and my phone buzzes.
Answer it.
I pull my phone out of my pocket and take a look. I gasp. New message from Dylan.
Pretty cool, huh?
No way! I can't help but smile. That's so cool.
Isn't it? Says Dylan. Magic isn't the curse my dad and everybody else at the room make it out to be. I'll bet they gave you that whole speech about how too much magic turns to evil, blah blah blah. Am I right?
I just nod.
Well, nobody gave the Knight brothers their magic. They were born magicians.
Maru said I'm probably a born magician too, I say. The idea that I've always had magic seems so impossible.
So it's true then. I overheard my dad talking to the chief about you going to Blackstone prison to meet with Maru.
Yeah, I say. He claims there's some big plan to destroy the Baru, kind of like what that boogie person was saying. Remember what you said about Maru's apprentice wanting to make the trade for Vanquish? Well, it wasn't just to free Maru. It was to obtain some kind of destructive power too. Something Maru says was taken from him. Dylan starts to say something, but then stops himself. What? I say. Do you know what it is?
I might, he says. Some magicians believe that the Knight brothers created their own spellbook, something called the Black Book. Supposedly the most powerful spells a magician can wield. Vladimir was probably the strongest weaver the world's ever seen.
Weaver? I ask.
It's a kind of magician, like an illusionist or a technologist. They weave together new spells. It's why the Knight brothers were so powerful. They were a perfect team. Vladimir created spells and Moro carried them out. After Vladimir's defeat, the Black Book was supposedly locked away in a great vault in the Department of Supernatural Investigations, if it's even real.
From the way Chief Crow and Agent Fiona acted, it sounds like it could definitely be real. Do you think it might contain spells that could destroy the Baru?
Dylan shrugs. But I can tell you one thing. They'd be far beyond the abilities of an ordinary magician. You'd need to be incredibly magical to even use them, like born magician magical, like Moru himself, or...
I look up to meet his eyes. Or like me. He nods. I shiver. What makes a born magician so special? Dylan leans back in his chair. Born magicians are really rare. The Knight brothers are the only ones I've ever read about. It's like nature itself chose you to be a magician. The rest of us inherit our magic from another magician. But how can we be sure if I'm a born magician? Couldn't someone have given me their magic without me knowing? Not exactly, he replies. The apprenticeship spell isn't the kind of thing you'd forget. It's pretty intense, and it binds you to that magician forever. You two basically share the same magic. Who gave you yours? Dylan sighs and runs his fingers through his hair. I'm going to trust you with another really big secret, okay? I'm only telling you this to prove that being a magician doesn't automatically make you a bad person. I won't tell anyone. Pinky promise. After Dylan and I lock pinkies, he says, you know the story of how my ancestor Abraham Van Helsing drove a stick into Vladimir's heart, right? Well, there's a reason Vladimir trusted him so much. Abraham Van Helsing was one of Vladimir's magician apprentices. Are you serious? I ask, leaning forward in my chair. Totally serious. Van Helsing magicians have passed down that magic down through our family for generations, keeping it secret from the rest of the family. Magic was passed to my uncle, who passed it to Maria before he died, and when she made special agent, she passed it to me. Wait, I interrupt. You're saying Maria is a magician too? There's a reason I knew how to beat the crystal ball, says Dylan. Members of my family have been doing it for nearly 700 years. It takes me a few seconds for that to sink in. So we aren't the first magicians to join the Baru. Not even close. And not one of the magicians in my family went on any terrible crime sprees. They were as normal as anyone else. If anything, they used their magic to make themselves better at the jobs. It sucks that people hate magicians so much that they had to take their secret to the grave, though. Did Quentin know about Maria being a magician? I don't think so, says Dylan. We really aren't supposed to tell anyone. That's an awfully big secret to keep. It means a lot that Dylan told me. I so want to believe in what he says that I don't have to be the awful thing people say I am, but magicians are known for their crimes, and Maru. Then why do the bad magicians go bad? Beats me, Dylan replies. Maybe they get tired of being automatically hated because of the Knight brothers and they just snap. Doesn't it make you angry how Laura and the other junior agent trainees treat you? It's one of the reasons I took a risk and messaged you. I couldn't stand the thought of you believing the hateful stuff the supernatural world wants you to believe. We're different from every other person in the Baru, but that just makes us special. I smile. Where did you learn all this? You probably know from my sister that my family has money. Rather than spend it on dumb shopping trips, I buy up whatever I can find about magicians. My parents think I'm going through a phase, or at least that's what they're hoping. My dad is so paranoid about it, he forbade me from talking to you. It's why I haven't exactly been the most outgoing person whenever my sister's around. She'd rat me out in a heartbeat. He pulls a small book out of his jacket. Bought this book of spells at a collector's auction last year. It once belonged to Madame Violet, one of the most famous illusionists who ever lived. Dylan hands the book to me. It looks like one of those fancy leather diaries. It even has a little golden key attached by a string of black velvet. I feel nervous just holding the thing. Dylan's expression turns serious. This secret is a really big deal to me and all the magician Van Helsings that came before me. We aren't even allowed to tell the non-magician members of our family what we are. And believe me, my mom and dad would freak if they knew the truth about me and Maria. I guess I'm asking if you're somebody I can trust. I lower my eyes and think. Not until right now do I realize just how much I've needed a magician friend. Someone who understands what it's like. I smile. You can definitely trust me. Dinner time is almost over by the time I get back to my room. Elsie is probably still in the food court. If Mama were here, she'd tell me to get my butt down there and put something in my belly, especially since the first tryout is tomorrow. But there's no way I can pass up a chance to see what this spellbook has to offer. For as much as trouble as it cost for me, I'm so curious to know what kind of things I can do with my magic. I practically sprinted the whole way here. I plopped down onto my bed and popped the key into the tiny lock on the book's gold clasp. But the key doesn't work. I try again and again, but the thing just won't open. Did Dylan trick me? There I go, not trusting him again. He took a big chance telling me his secret. There has to be a way to get this thing open. After a few more tries, I'm about ready to throw the dumb thing across the room, when my finger grazes the slightest little bump in the spine of the book. Bringing the book closer to the light, I spot a tiny golden button. I give it a press and the clasp unfastens. Then, on its own, the book opens to the very first page. Well done! The first lesson in the training of an illusionist is this: never trust. Take absolutely nothing at face value. In viewing anything, assume its appearance is false until proven otherwise. To this end, the very first spell the novice illusionist must learn is the extremely simple spell that casts aside illusions set forth by others. This spell. Once you've read this entire page, shut this book, and with only your pointer and middle fingers extended, wave your hand in front of it and speak the word, the spell. This must be what Dylan used to get rid of his tattoo girl illusion. I close the book and extend my 2 fingers. Slowly, I move my hand over the book and say, the spell. A warm sensation fills my chest, like when you drink hot chocolate on a cold day. Instantly, the book begins to tremble on my bed, and bright red spots peek through the black leather cover. As it continues to shake, the edges of the book expand to twice its original size, and it gets thicker too. When it finally stops moving, I'm left with a large red letter book with a new lock, and clasped in shiny gold lettering across the cover. So you want to be an illusionist? The spells and musings of Madame Violet, foremost illusion of her era. I knew you were up to something, comes Lyra's voice from behind me. I nearly fall out of bed before turning to find my door barely open and Lyra eyeing me through the crack. Except that's not all. She's recording me with her phone too. She must have seen me rushing down the hallway and followed me. I swallow. How much did you see? Lyra steps into my room and kicks the door shut behind her. She lunges for the book, but it clutches to my chest. I make a run for the door. She easily beats me there. With a smirk, Lara yanks the book out of my arms like it's nothing. Her superhuman athleticism ability must make her super strong too. Lara holds the book up to her face and shakes her head. You are in so much trouble. They're going to kick you out for this. I hope you know that. They might even arrest you. Please, I beg, don't tell. How could I be so dumb as to let Lara catch me? If I get kicked out, they'll take my memories and there goes any chance of finding my brother. Lara grins. On one condition. My heart sinks. What condition? I want you to quit junior agent training. But I can't quit, I say, shaking my head. How am I going to search for Quentin if I can't even get to the Department of Supernatural Investigations? How am I supposed to join the Bureau's official search if I can't become a junior agent? Lara shrugs and leans back against my door. There are only 4 spots and I won't risk you stealing one because everyone loves your stupid brother so much. It's either quit or get kicked out of the Bureau. Your decision. It's not much of a choice at all.